Sometimes I get this crazy dream that I just
Interstate 495. Yeah. Well, we've already had another one of these, kinda two of these, but this is the New York one, Long Island Expressway. So we are talking Long Island pretty much the entire time. Long Island. We see 495, the Long Island Expressway, begins in Manhattan and continues across, well, Long Island. We're going to start by talking about eastbound I-495. So we are starting here in Midtown Manhattan. We are not starting in New Jersey. We're not messing around with the, mid-Manhattan Expressway idea because it was a terrible idea, so we're not bothering with that. So here we are in Murray Hill and 2nd Avenue and 36th Street. If you go straight and veer to the left, you'll be in the Queens Midtown Tunnel. Here we are approaching from 2nd Avenue from the north, and we see 37th Street coming up here, and we will be turning left. You have to cut over a block early in order to turn left. So we get our nice Queens Midtown Tunnel sign and 495 thrown in there as well. Here's what it looks like as we go into the tunnel. You see we've looped around away from that sign now, and we're kind of going under that in a different way as we continue to loop underground. Right as we head into the tunnel, we get this nice E Pluribus Unum seal of the state of New York. And here's what it looks like inside the tunnel. The lanes are reversible, so at the time of this street view, we only had one eastbound lane available, and the other lane was westbound, and the other tunnel would have been entirely westbound. Here's where we come out of the tunnel in Queens. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and the places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. We get our very first exit in Queens, and it is exit 13. What? Okay, that's pretty weird. That is the first ordinal exit because we are not 13 miles across from Midtown Manhattan, obviously. And even if it was built from New Jersey, we're only about 7 miles away from I-95 in New Jersey where the Lincoln Tunnel split is. They did plan to build a road across Midtown Manhattan, across the most valuable real estate in the world, have it possibly tunnel right through the Empire State Building on the 7th floor. Even then, there wouldn't have been 13 exits. At most, I count there could have been 8 up until this point. There's maybe 4 or 5 existing exits in New Jersey, and the original exit where we got onto this road in Midtown, and they only plan to have 2 other exits in Midtown. So, don't know where they got 13. It never would have made any sense. Here is the toll booth for the Queens Midtown Tunnel, although this is no longer there. It is electronic pay like every other toll. At exit 14, we are getting a lot of stuff going on here. We're getting a Welcome to Queens sign. We're getting exit 14 for Long Island City, New York Highway 25A, and we are getting a 495 reassurance shield just to the left over there. So lots of stuff happening here. Long Island City is pretty alright. It's actually where I stayed the last time I was in New York a few months ago. We continue east and we see we're getting LaGuardia Airport and Maurice Avenue, exit 17 W and E. So we're not getting an A and B situation here, we're getting a W and E instead. We're meeting 278, the BQE. We will be doing that one eventually. I was actually planning on doing it this week because the Royals are playing the Yankees, but I don't know, I felt like 495 would probably be a little more fun this time around. It's still New York. I thought of maybe doing it in a couple of weeks, but I've got a different thing in mind now. 278 signed for Brooklyn, Queens Expressway, Staten Island, and the Bronx in both of its directions. We are signed for Eastern Long Island and Riverhead. So if you get out of that exit, you're just not on a real exit ramp yet. You're kind of on this service road where you can still get back onto 495. 278 for LaGuardia Airport in Bronx. We see 278 going west for Brooklyn and Staten Island. So if you were to exit off of 278 to get onto 495, you end up on this 495 East, Eastern Long Island and Riverhead road that goes under the main line of 495. So we have kind of a double-decker freeway thing going. So here's what it looks like as 278 traffic goes under 495, although this could also be considered 495 as well. And here is the lower part of 495 East, Eastern Long Island. And right here is where the lower section is coming back above ground to re-meet with the upper section. Here's another look at a service road. There's a lot of service roads on this street, so exit 19, Woodhaven Boulevard, and Queens Boulevard. Queens Boulevard is nearby for a lot of this, and that is New York Highway 25, which we will be seeing again and again. And now we have an exit for another distributor road that's going to be taking you to Grand Central Parkway and the Van Wyck Expressway. So on the distributor road, we see Grand Central Parkway east and west, and this is passenger cars only. All the parkways in New York are for cars and not trucks, and we're seeing straight ahead east 495 and 678. So here's a look at these two interchanges. They are right back to back right here in Flushing Meadows. 495 meeting the Grand Central Parkway and the Van Wyck. Here is the exit for 678, the Van Wyck Expressway for Whitestone Bridge and the Kennedy Airport. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you might remember Elaine trying to get to JFK Airport by taking the Van Wyck. They say nobody's ever beaten the Van Wyck. At random interchanges, we are getting East 495 Long Island Expressway and Eastern Long Island. We're meeting 295 shortly, the Clearview Expressway, although pretty sure that's Highway Gothic, so kind of a weird name for that one. And it is signed for the Bronx and for Grand Central Parkway. And now we're meeting the Cross Island Parkway, once again passenger cars only, that goes from the north end to the south end of Long Island. Right around here, this showed up on Google Maps and on Wikipedia, the Queen's Giant. Apparently the oldest and tallest in New York is sort of visible here. I guess maybe it's the taller one, maybe we can't see it. We've got an HOV lane coming up right here, so that's a standard carpool lane. You don't have to pay extra, you can take it if you have 2 or more people. And we can also see here we are crossing into Nassau County at this point, so we are out of the city of New York. Now that we're in Nassau County, we're getting an exit ramp onto 495, and we are no longer getting Eastern Long Island, we're just getting Riverhead, and they're telling us traffic moving well on 495, so that's useful. We're meeting the Northern Parkway for the first of a couple of times, and it is signed east for Hauppauge. I hope I'm saying that right. Here we are 4 exits later, and we have another exit for the Northern Parkway east for Hauppauge. We've also got exit 43 for Bethpage coming up soon, the famous Bethpage Black Golf Course right there. Bethpage, I also learned, is a hamlet. Apparently, in New York State, everything is divided into towns and villages and hamlets, like it's the 1600s or something. I don't know. I think it's kind of hilarious that you've got a hamlet there, like you expect mushroom-capped houses or Hansel and Gretel to be walking around. Here's what that interchange looks like. So we see we don't actually cross the Northern State Parkway, we just come near it and we have this flyover ramp that jumps us over to it. We will actually meet it later, but then we will have no interchange for it. Here's New York Highway 135, a major north-south road in Nassau County, and we are getting 495 East Riverhead. And we don't get a sign here, or maybe I missed it, but right here when we cross this overpass, we enter Suffolk County, as we will be in for the rest of Long Island. Shortly into Suffolk County, we get the Long Island Welcome Center. I mean, we've technically been in Long Island the entire time. Queens is still on Long Island, but people consider Long Island as being Nassau and Suffolk counties. So, Long Island Welcome Center. Hope they have iced tea. And here is what the Long Island Welcome Center actually looks like. And now we're meeting exit 53, the Sagtikos Expressway, or Sagtikos Parkway. Hope I'm saying that right. I looked for ways to pronounce it on YouTube. I couldn't find it anywhere. This exit 53, was requested by Boss King Inc., but we will get more into this going the other direction on this road. Thank you so much for that request. Boss King Inc. requested this on the Patreon, as anybody on a higher Patreon tier can make requests. So I appreciate that, and also Patreon viewers get the videos earlier and without these promos. So, good times. Appreciate everybody who has signed up for that. And you can also make requests the old-fashioned way by doing a $5 super sticker on any video and make a request, and then I will put it in whatever video you are requesting for. So I appreciate everybody doing that as well. We're getting to exit 68, the William Floyd Parkway, another bigger parkway in this part of Suffolk County. And you see these signs around various places. The New York State Experience, Long Island region. And now we're getting exit 69, nice. And this actually was requested, this exit was requested by Mo Cowan because he wanted to see this to see Senator Mauritius here because his great-grandmother is buried there. This is a large cemetery. So thank you so much for that request. We're coming near the end now. We're getting to 27, to New York Highway 27, which is the South Shore Road. It covers Long Island all the way to Montauk on the South Shore. So this is our exit from Montauk. And now Expressway ends in 1 mile, and we are narrowing down to 2 lanes in this direction. And we're going to be meeting 25 one more time for Riverhead and Calverton. Old Country Road is where the expressway will end, and if you stay ahead going straight, that's where you will be. So here is the exit for 25, and traffic can also say in the last exit lane on the left. Looking at the service road, we get east 25 Riverhead, west 25 Calverton. But we stayed on the leftmost lane toward County Highway 58 for Old Country Road, and that dumps us right into this Tanger Outlets. What? We're really in the backwoods now. Tanger Outlets was like the other outlet mall in Lawrence that wasn't as successful as the other failed outlet mall that both went out of business. So, I don't know about all that, but maybe they're doing all right now. All right, let's take a look at westbound 495. So we'll start in Riverhead because that's where we're assigned to the entire time. We have New York Highway 25 and 24 here in downtown Riverhead, and this looks like a pretty nice town looking at this. We continue down 25 and we get 495 signed west for New York. So that's sensible signage. We are meeting the Sag to Coast Expressway once again, signed for Bayshore and Kings Park, and it's also to the Northern Expressway. No commercial vehicles as always. And I don't know, Sag to Coast. Long Island things are hard to pronounce. I always feel like there's a certain East Coast kind of thing that as a Midwesterner we hear about, but we don't have to actually know anything about, like Seton Hall University or the Tappan Zee Bridge or Bernie Madoff or something like that. Just very East Coast things that we hear of, but not our business, you know? Then you have stuff that's even further beyond that, like this Sag to Coast Parkway that I feel like certainly nobody in the Midwest would have heard of. But we heard of this, so here is the actual Sag to Coast Parkway, and this is what Boss King Inc. wanted to see. He wanted to point out that a lot of the times the exit numbers on these Long Island parkways aren't normal exit numbers. They begin with the same letter as the name of the parkway. West 495 is exit S1W. S1W. That would be something anybody who is a hip-hop fan at all would have heard of, because that is Public Enemy's thing. And apparently the Public Enemy S1Ws were in fact named for this exit S1W originally, or where they came up with the word, because Public Enemy themselves are from Long Island. We're getting to New York Highway 110, that's kind of a bigger one, and we're getting Amityville here, so the famous Amityville horror. And now we jump back into Nassau County. Here's a pretty interesting intersection music-wise right here. 106, 107, Hicksville, Oyster Bay, and West Northern Parkway for New York. So Northern Parkway will dip down and you'll meet another road down there that you get off at, and that'll take you to Adelphi University, and that is the place where Chuck D and Flavor Flav first met, so the birthplace of Public Enemy would be that university campus. Whereas our next exit coming up, Hicksville, that is the hometown of Billy Joel. So Long Island hitting above their weight music-wise. And on a sad music note, my original song that I started this episode with was Harry Chapin. Harry Chapin died in a car crash right around here on the Long Island Expressway, right around exit 40. Exit 39, we see this once again, Glen Cove Road, Glen Cove, and Hempstead. Hempstead on the bottom of that list there. Hempstead is weirdly unknown considering how enormous it is. It is the largest town in America with over 800,000 people, which is amazing. It has more people, city proper, town proper, whatever, than Miami or Atlanta or Louisville or Albuquerque or Las Vegas or all kinds of different, much more famous cities. But because it's incorporated as a town and not a city, it's way less known than all of those cities are. And also maybe because it's right next to New York City. And welcome to Queens. We are now in New York City once again. They're telling us Whitestone Bridge, Kennedy Airport for truck and bus route, exit 22B, don't get on the Grand Central Parkway, and UBS Arena, the home of the Islanders now, and Belmont Park, home of the Belmont Stakes, both in the same complex. That is exit 31S, coming up shortly. We get a nice sign telling us the average travel time to the Throgs Neck Bridge via a couple of different routes coming up. And here is the Cross Island Parkway. It is signed for Whitestone Bridge and Kennedy Airport. It is passenger cars only, 31N and 31S, so 31S is the one we heard about, the southbound one. 495 now is signed west for Manhattan because we are already in the city of New York, so you can't sign it for New York anymore. A lot of 495 through Queens and even on the Long Island part is quite a bit like this. It is the Horace Harding Expressway is one of the names of this road of the Long Island Expressway. In this section, we've got two service roads right next to us the entire time. So 495, is Long Island the Texas of New York? We're meeting 295, the Clearview Expressway. So that is for Bronx and Grand Central Parkway. And now we're getting a City Field use blah blah blah, but we don't know what exit because the tree is covering it. Grand Central Parkway coming up as well. And we also see signs for both airports are going to be having intersections soon. So if you want to go to JFK or LaGuardia, get off at the Grand Central Parkway, northbound for LaGuardia, southbound for JFK. We don't meet the Van Wyck going in this direction. The ramp from Grand Central Parkway onto westbound 495 has pretty good views of Flushing Meadows because remember, all this is happening in Flushing Meadows. So you can see a lot of the main famous Flushing Meadows things. We've got New Shea Stadium over there. We've got Arthur Ashe. We've got that big giant globe thing from Men in Black. And as we head deeper into Queens, we are now getting Queens Boulevard and New York 25 once again, the Rockaways and 69th Street. And we see over here West 495 Long Island Expressway, Manhattan. Interesting, even in the city of New York, they signed it as the Long Island Expressway. Technically, this is not the Long Island Expressway. The Long Island Expressway is the part that is in Nassau and Suffolk. This is actually the Queens Midtown Expressway, but nobody calls it that, nobody knows that, nobody cares. Everybody just calls it the Long Island Expressway anyway, including, apparently, the state and city DOTs. And we are going to be meeting 278, the BQE, once again, and Kenny wanted to see this intersection because he is always stuck in traffic heading westbound, heading toward the 278 BQE. So thank you so much for that request, I appreciate that. 495 now signed for Midtown Tunnel in Manhattan, 278 for Brooklyn. And if we get off at that exit, again, that's kind of where we are doing our split. You could really go either way because there's the above and below thing. So west 278 for Brooklyn, west 495, you can exit back off of here. Here's our last exit before the toll, Van Damme Street. Right here, we go over this river bridge and we get a pretty good view of the fairly new Long Island City skyline. This is in Queens, right by Manhattan. Like I said, this is where I stayed the last time I was in New York. It was actually a great place to stay because the Queensboro Bridge is right there. You have a bunch of subways. Super easy to get around town. I definitely do recommend Long Island City. And here is a good view of the Midtown Manhattan skyline with the Empire State Building to our left. We are heading into the tunnel now, and this time we see it's still reversible, but we are getting two lanes going in the same direction. They just don't want you to cross your lanes. Once we're on the other side, we get our toll apparatus, and they tell us the toll billed by mail. You have already been tolled, so do not stop. And we've got Uptown, Downtown, and Crosstown available. 3 different exits for the Queens Midtown Tunnel. We'll take the downtown exit first, and going downtown we see this 2 West 495, which is kind of a relic because that 495 never got built, and on the other side it is not Interstate 495, it's New York and New Jersey Highways 495. And when we're coming out of there, we see if we turn left we can go to 2nd Avenue, if we go straight we'll go to 34th Street, which is more of a major crosstown thoroughfare. Coming toward the Uptown exit out of the Queens Midtown Tunnel, we end up here at 37th Street. So you can turn left onto 37th Street, or you can go straight to head further uptown onto Tunnel Exit Street. We have this Tunnel Exit Street that goes for a few blocks and then ends at 41st Street. All right, let's talk about Todd's the way it should be for Interstate 495, the Long Island Expressway. Westbound, I'm going to say they do this just fine. Eastern Long Island and Riverhead. And eastbound, I'm going to say also just perfect. New York and then Manhattan. I think it is signed control city-wise absolutely perfectly right now. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. We will be back with US 75 next week, although that is probably complete by the time that you see this. But that will be quite a slog. We've been on the far west coast last week, and now we're on the far east coast in Long Island. So we're gonna go, if you open your Rand McNally Atlas, the road that's roughly right there in that middle line, US 75. Should be cool. So until then, my name is Todd, and keep on trucking.